We're Dynamic Logistics, the food shipping experts. What makes us food shipping experts? Glad you asked. First, we've built a well-connected, highly reliable food-grade carrier network that significantly improves OTIF compliance, streamlines delivery management, and complies with food-grade requirements like trailer washouts and seal processes. We know what food shippers really need, a dedicated account team to offer critical after-hours support. Dynamic Logistics, the food shipping experts.
Welcome to Running on Ice, the coolest community in freight. I'm your host, Mary O'Connell, bringing you the latest tech updates, warehouse news, and everything happening in the cold chain world. Not only is there the coolest show in freight, but there's also Running on Ice, a newsletter that could not be colder. You can subscribe to that on FreightWaves.com/running on ice. Today, we welcome back Joel Wayment, Vice President, General Manager, 3PL and Packaging Solutions. Welcome back to the show, Joel.
Thanks, Mary. It's good to be here again.
I'm excited for today. First of all, we've really kind of been doubling down on the healthcare and pharmaceutical supply chain lately, justifiably so. It hasn't gotten, in my opinion, hasn't gotten the attention that it's needed over the past few years, and I'm single-handedly trying to change that, one episode at a time. But let's take a step back. So you guys Cardinal Health has really kind of done some big developments and big enhancements within that cold chain pharmaceutical healthcare space. Just kind of break it down. What are some of these new solutions and kind of what drove Cardinal Health to say, this is the direction we want to go. This is where we're going to sink this investment compared to something else?
Yeah, no, great question, Mary. So I would tell you over the last several years, right, as we're tracking, the different types of, new products or new drugs that are coming to market, what the unique needs are for those products and how we best support them. And what we've seen over the last few years is that more and more products that are being approved by the FDA require some element of cold chain handling. And as you know, those products can vary in different temperatures that are needed. And so we have invested and been focused on expanding our cold chain support as a 3PL for many years. So we've done a lot of expansions with our 28 degrees Celsius cold chain storage. We added a very significant amount of space for minus 20 degrees Celsius. But I will say in the last couple of years, as we've seen a growth specifically around cell and gene therapies, which is an exciting part of the healthcare industry, those products have some very unique needs. They can range anywhere from minus 40 degrees Celsius to minus 196 degrees Celsius. And so we have recently built out a space that we call our Advanced Therapy Innovation Center that's specific to supporting and be able to manage those types of products within our operations.
For the record, I cannot even fathom how cold negative 196 is. Like, I cannot even, I struggle to understand the concept of negative 60. When negative 196, that's like a new level that I picture like Superman's ice cave level.
Well, now you're getting past kind of the use of dry ice, right? And now you're getting into liquid nitrogen. And the way most people might think about it is, if you remember the old Terminator movies, right? And that point in time where he sticks his arm in liquid nitrogen and it shatters, right? That's what we're talking about, right? Liquid nitrogen, those type of temperatures that you've got to be very mindful of and careful about how you handle those products.
Yeah, that's that's more than just, we wear gloves because it's cold and you don't want to get your fingers cold or stuck or numb in a warehouse. That's you have to have a special suit and training and everything. That's a huge safety thing. But I mean, it's right. We talked a couple of weeks ago with someone else about, cryogenic gene therapy and some of these more customized drugs that are coming to the market that thankfully are resulting in better patient outcomes and better treatment plans. But with that better treatment and those more customized and personalized drugs, you do have to kind of say, okay, well, how do I get it there? If I need to store it at these super cold temperatures, how do I get it there? How do I get it there? Because a lot of these drugs, they do have to get to their patients within a certain window, and it's a very small time window. So it's really, I'm excited that the medical science is catching up, but also the logistics is right there with it. Hey, don't worry, we got you. Just keep making it.
Yeah, no, this is an incredibly exciting time in healthcare where we are seeing just advancements in science, but also just these products that are, touching on unmet needs that impact people's lives in a very significant way. So we're pretty excited about the opportunity to support our manufacturer partners that have been developing and working on these drugs for some time.
Yeah, I think it's really kind of been, and this is something that I've seen more in the temperature controlled and the healthcare space more than like the dry van and dry storage, is that there's been a lot more of collaboration. It's been like, okay, you're developing this and we're working in tandem together to create these different supply chains, these more resiliencies and these different warehouses, and we're kind of meshing our needs together. Whereas in the dry van space side, obviously there's a lot less need there and there's a lot less strict parameters, but I see it's more of just like, this is what we have, you can deal with it or go. Which I like that the cold chain's taking a different approach. It feels more like also like a little bit of like a little friend group, you know, we're just like, hey, we're all cool. No pun intended. We're all cool. Just come on over.
Yeah, I mean, definitely with these products, there's a lot more collaboration that has to happen with all the partners involved, right? And that's an exciting part, to be able to work with all aspects of the supply chain to figure out how to best store and distribute these products so that it gets to the patients on time and when it's needed.
So you guys built this new advanced therapy center, right? So it's basically is the kind of the gist of it where, you know, these really niche products or these things that require extra care and super restrictive environments in regards to temperature. Is it just kind of, is that like is this like a hub for it and then it goes out to where it needs? Or are you guys putting some of these advanced therapy centers and a lot of the places that you have these distribution centers?
Yeah, no, great question. So this is our main kind of hub, I would say, for advanced therapies. But we have also kind of looked at where do we have what I would refer to maybe depots, different locations to help in the distribution of these products, right? Because again, you want to be as close to the sites of care that you can be where these products are being administered. And so while this is kind of our main hub, which is just outside of Nashville, Tennessee, you know, we have, you know, depots to kind of help support the movement of these products through the supply chain.
That's kind of really important because because some of the gene therapies that are coming out, you know, you have to be able to administer it into a patient within 72 hours of it being created, meaning wherever it's being created, it has to then get to where it needs to be and into someone's body within 72 hours. And that is an extremely tight timeline that you can't just say like, oh, it didn't make it before line haul tonight, guess it's going to sit overnight. Like that can't be an option for some of these.
Yeah, no, I mean, the requirements are a lot more stringent on the timing of when you pull a product out of its storage condition, pack it out and get it to its end destination for administration, right? So, you know, the clock is ticking, you know, and it ticks pretty fast, right? And so you got to get there as quick as you can to make sure that the patient's able to receive the product that's been made for them.
Yeah, and it's not like you can really say like, oh, well, we can't, since our main hub's in Nashville, you can't say, well, sorry, if you live in Seattle or Maine, like we can't take care of you because we can't get there in time. That's not really an option that you can bring to the table, you know?
Right. No, exactly.
So I guess when it comes to, we touched on it a little bit, and that is, you know, in that negative 100 and was it 96?
196, yeah.
196. The negative 196, obviously there's a lot of extra training and special handling and special equipment that you have to use to store and kind of handle these orders. What are some of those other kind of things that as you guys have developed this therapy center that you guys have said, oh, well, I guess we need to account for this as well. What are some of those kind of unique things that have come up that you're like, oh, well, this is a fun thing that we get to deal with now?
Yeah, I mean, I think the other, I don't want to use the word we just say challenges, but the other aspects of these types of products is storage and handling is one component, right? So there is a lot of procedures and PP and aspects that go into making sure that you're handling and storing these products correctly. But now getting it from point A to point B is another challenge by itself, right? There's not just normal, regular cold chain shippers you can use for these products, right? And so, you know, we do a lot of work in collaboration with other partners that develop solutions on how do I move product A through the supply chain in the storage condition that it needs to be, right? How do I ensure that this product that's being stored at minus 196 is being transported at that same temperature to get to its destination in the condition that it should? And so there's a lot of great development innovation happening in the industry around the types of shippers that you're using, but also you're not talking about you're putting this on a common carrier, right? Now you're talking about, courier type services that provide a higher level of white glove touch to making sure the product's moving through the network the way that you want to. So, you don't have the potential risks due to weather constraints and challenges. You want to make sure that the product leaves your dock, gets to where it needs to go without much disruption or challenges along the way.
Because I think that it also something else I just thought of while you were talking about that is, if I want to know the temperature that my shipment's at the whole time, obviously the most common thing is just put a temperature logger in there and call it good. Do some of these temperature loggers kind of, I don't want to say fail, but do they kind of not have the capacity to go at that, like above that or below? Would it be above or it would be below the -60 to that 196 range? Because I feel like that's kind of a niche temperature logger, you know?
Yeah, I mean, for these types of shipments, right, and products, you're not using I would say your standard, temp loggers that you're referring to, right? So, the different temp tails and things that are out there. But a lot of the organizations that have designed and built these shippers for these types of products have also developed and designed, just tracking and temperature monitoring capabilities within the shipper itself so that you have a constant view and understanding what the temperature is at all times. But even beyond temperature, they can show and record, has it been on a 45-degree angle? And how long has it been on a 45-degree angle, right? Because that can impact the overall stability of the shipper in transit based on where it's going and what's happening. So a lot of technology has been built into a lot of these shippers to be able to give not only the manufacturer and the shipper a lot of good detail and information as to what the condition of the product is up until the point of delivery to the customer.
I think that if you were shipping such these like niche products like that, I feel like you would almost have to design. Unfortunately, I feel like you'd have to almost design your own solution to really have that guarantee and say like, no, this is what we're working on. This is what we're doing. Like, don't touch it.
Now, there are several great organizations out there that this is their specialty in space, right? Is these unique shippers that are going to be able to accommodate these types of products. And so, much like ourselves at Cardinal Health, these companies have also been focusing on the pipeline of these products, paying attention to what the requirements are, and then developing solutions around that. And so, our whole concept behind the innovation center that we built at Cardinal Health and our 3PL business, one aspect's the storage component that we've talked about, but that space is also designed to help do a lot of collaboration and working with manufacturers to develop processes and SOPs from the time that you get the order to the time that the order delivers to the customer, how to make sure that we're covering all aspects that are needed of that product's life cycle.
So I guess when it comes to because like you said, we're kind of in a very collaborative environment right now with the science and technology catching up with what logistics can do, and everybody just kind of saying like, hey, if we go colder, can you handle it? Yeah, sure, go ahead. Okay, well, if we go this cold, how quickly can you get it there? Like kind of developing everything in tandem, which first of all is great because, instead of we'll just build it and hope somebody can figure it out. That's not always the best approach. But when it comes to this kind of development and everything, where do you see kind of some gaps that might get overlooked or things might start? Where are some of those areas that you think things might fall through the cracks as we kind of get more and more of these ultra cold products or these things that require a little bit more attention?
Yeah, I mean, I think we have to continue to look at the ways in which product is transported, right? So there's still some opportunities to continue to expand on the different ways in which products are moving through the network, right? So whether that, again, like I said, courier services are a great solution to that, but there's a limit on number of courier services that are out there that can meet some of those needs. So I think we have to continue to expand that space. The other aspect is just we have to continue to provide better transparency and visibility to all aspects of that shipment while it's in transit. And so normally, right, people rely on, hey, give me a tracking number and I can track and see where it's at. You got to go much beyond that now. Now it's got to be not do I want to know just where it's at, but what's going on with that product while it's sitting there, right? What's the temperature of inside the product, outside the the shipper, and what's happening. So more visibility into that order and that shipment that's taking place. And then the other aspect that's a little bit unique with some of these products, and you mentioned earlier, is like once it delivers, like there's a finite amount of time before that product needs to be administered into the patient. Now you got to coordinate the logistics of product and patient and getting product and patient to meet up together at the same time. And that's not an easy thing to do, right? Because a patient could get sick or be too sick to receive the administration. So that's an opportunity to continue to work on is how do you line up the logistics of the patient and the product at the same time? And then you have the component of, while we've developed and built the necessary capabilities to handle these products on a physical level, sites of care, that's a new space for them. So now you're talking about hospitals or community hospitals having the same ability to store these products at these temperatures. And that's not an easy thing to do, to try to get that across the United States. And so those were, I think, some of the gaps continue to be that the industry's working on. And it's going to take a little while to get there, but I think that's going to be an important focus.
I think that brings up, first of all, I love that you brought up visibility, because I think every time someone says, oh, we need visibility, we need this, they think of like a dot on a map of like, but it's more than just like, oh, I need to just know that my shipment's in Tucson, Arizona. Like we're past that now. Like that was visibility in my mind. That was visibility 10 years ago. It's just, this is where my shipment is. Now I want to know what I can't see. Like I want to know what that driver doesn't necessarily know, because that driver is focusing on driving, focusing on getting the stuff there like safely. They don't need to be worried about, oh, this pallet got loaded wrong, or it got jostled when they hit a curve, or when they swerved, and so now it's being stored at a different angle, or now it's being stored, maybe it got too cold, too loaded too far back to the reefer, or maybe the box it's in, it's breaking. They don't need to worry about that while they're also focusing on the road. And I like that there is that enhanced level of kind of visibility.
We've got to continue to provide just that viewpoint into what's going on with that shipment while it's transporting through the network, right? So understanding, hey, it's been laying on its side for a couple of hours. And if so, how does that impact the stability of the temperature within that product, right? Or if you're going to somewhere in the dead of summer, right, like Arizona, and it's hot, versus if you're going to Minnesota in the dead of winter and it's freezing cold, like how is that impacting the product while it's in transit?
Right. And then also like, maybe in some of those predictive ways of, oh, we see that this container that's holding something that's at negative 60 degrees Celsius, the battery starts faltering on it, or it does something that kind of almost buys you time to say, okay, well, we have maybe 2 hours left before this becomes potentially unusable. But we see that the driver's, 45 minutes away from one of our facilities. They can pull over, we can unload that and save that shipment. We either swap out the box it's going in, or just recharge it, or something like that. I feel like that's almost what people are looking for in those visibility things, is how can we use it to know what's going on and to kind of stop the problems before they happen.
Yeah, I mean, there's this kind of concept of how do we do a better job of being more proactive at intervening, right? So I think having the data to understand what's going on with the shipment then alerts you to know that, hey, there needs to be an intervention. And then how do you intervene on that shipment to protect it while it's in transit? Because the reality is that more and more things are happening that's causing disruption in the supply chain, whether it's weather events or other things that happen. You've got to be prepared for disruption to occur. And so how do you navigate that when you do have disruption that takes place? And so having that visibility and transparency into the shipment process puts you in a better spot to take action when you need to.
Yeah, it kind of gives you, it's that resiliency that you need of, no matter what happens, you get like that 30 seconds to go, oh, crap, what are we going to do? And then you're like, wait, no, we already know what we're going to do, because we have these fallbacks in place. And then something else that you mentioned that I think we forget about a lot is, we do have these manufacturers and these creators of these fantastic drugs and therapies and everything like that. But the end users, you can kind of mostly assume that if you're a huge hospital network in a major city, you're going to have the capabilities to kind of receive this product. But if you're a regional medical center, or maybe an outpatient facility where a lot of people will go get their injections or their treatments instead of going into the ER, into inpatient, you need to have these capabilities as well. And I think that that's something that like you mentioned, it could potentially, I don't want to say fall through the cracks, but it's an area that certainly does need that development. Whether it's, staff training, or maybe it'd be really cool if someone just like had a freezer you could plug in that looked like a dorm fridge, but in the meantime, it really just kept things at like negative 80 degrees Celsius.
Yeah. No, and that's why I think it's important. And we continue to look at where across the network do you have these depots or locations that can be great, logistics centers for intervention, right? Where things are happening to make sure that you're always protecting the product if there's a disruption or a delay somewhere to kind of assist with that, because, that's going to happen and we've got to be prepared to support those products when it does.
Yeah, because like you said, your first facility is outside of Nashville. So if you have a regional medical center that's within 45 minutes, that wouldn't be that difficult to say, okay, well, we'll drop off your shipments in the morning, and you just have all your patients that need this specific drug come in first thing. And that way they don't have to have that facility on site. And that just kind of reduces some of the risk or the big investment on their part, because they just got a sick partner in Cardinal Health.
No, I agree. I mean, and I would say this is not a new concept or new space for Cardinal Health, right? So Cardinal Health has an incredible business unit called nuclear pharmacy, right? And so, and they're positioned really to be within a few hours of any of the major institutions across the U.S. And so they have many locations across the U.S. because they're dealing with radiopharmaceuticals that have very short, lifespans. And so you've got to get to a hospital in a very quick manner. And so, we work with a lot of the partners in the Cardinal Health to understand the learnings from past products and experiences to figure out how we help apply that to what we see with these types of products as well today.
And I think that's where kind of having that knowledge already just lends itself nicely to, okay, we're going to continue doing this, but we're going to make it a little bit more complicated and a little bit more restrictive on the temperatures things need. Because personally, I'm here for the customized therapies. I'm here for that customized medicine because it's going to result in healthier people and,
Right.
the more positive outlooks.
Well, it's the future of where medicine is going, and that's super exciting to be a part of and to be able to support manufacturers that have been working on and developing in this space for some time. And it's great to see it starting to come to fruition and seeing some of these products that are getting approval and coming to market, because it's having some pretty significant impact in a positive way for patients.
Yeah. And, it is one of those rare, like, exciting times in healthcare for the science side of things. That being said, also exciting is, Joel, we've come to almost the end of our time today, but we have a question that, we're just burning for the answer. Give the people what they want, and it's more unhinged answers. So, Joel, if you could build a house out of any food, what would it be?
That's a good question. I would tell you, it probably wouldn't be a lot of the stuff I like because I don't know that it's durable enough. But I would tell you, if I was looking for something durable and it's going to last forever, I'd probably say Twinkies, because apparently they don't ever,
Yeah.
go, right? So those things last forever. So I would definitely say it had to be probably Twinkies.
I mean, I think if you got them wet and they solidified, they'd become basically indestructible. Like, I think that's like the equivalent of like concrete,
Yeah, not probably the healthiest thing for you to eat, but if you were going to build a house out of it, probably that's a good option.
Well, that's good because you wouldn't want to eat your house, because then you would just have no house.
Yep.
All right, Joel, thank you so much for joining us today. If anyone has questions on, maybe the best floor plan for Twinkies, or if they have any questions on, how to get involved in anything that we've talked about today, where can they find you outside the show?
Yeah, so they can find me through my email, right, at joel.wayman@cardinal.com. Also, they can reach us through our website, which is cardinal.com/3PL. And then obviously can be reached on LinkedIn.
Awesome. Thank you so much for joining us today.
You bet. Thanks, Mary. Always a pleasure.
You can catch other episodes of Running on Ice right here on FreightWaves TV, YouTube, or anywhere else you get your podcasts like Apple Podcast and Spotify. Need more Running on Ice news? No sweat. Subscribe to the newsletter on freightwaves.com/running on ice. See you on the internet.
We're Dynamic Logistics, the food shipping experts. What makes us food shipping experts? Glad you asked. First, we've built a well-connected, highly reliable food-grade carrier network that significantly improves OTIF compliance, streamlines delivery management, and complies with food-grade requirements like trailer washouts and seal processes. We know what food shippers really need: a dedicated account team to offer critical after-hours support. Dynamic Logistics, the food shipping experts.